Commander Rylan Thorne was known across the Orion frontier as the kind of man who walked out of disasters that should have killed him. Soldiers whispered about him the way old sailors spoke about storms, dangerous, unpredictable, and somehow still alive after every impossible mission. His Stormwalker, a giant exosuit built for battles inside cosmic storms, had more scars than any machine had the right to, and so did he. But there was one person who knew the truth behind his victories: Dr. Alara Wynn. She was the quiet mind who sat with him after every mission, the only one who understood the strange storms that lived inside him. Where others saw a fearless hero, she saw a man carrying too much weight for one life. And where others pulled away from his intensity, she walked toward it calmly, like someone entering a peaceful room instead of a battlefield. It had started years ago. After each fight, Rylan would stumble into the recovery bay, half awake, his mind shaken by Stormwalker feedback. The suit connected directly with the pilot's nerves, allowing perfect control but leaving behind a kind of mental lightning. Most pilots quit after a few missions. Some broke, a few went mad. Rylan didn't break, but only because Alara was there to pull him back every time. Everyone in the fleet knew the pattern. He survived the storm, and she survived him. On this particular day, the base shook as the alarms finished their long wail. Rylan's squadron had just returned from a rescue mission on an outpost hit by gravitational waves. The moment his Stormwalker opened, he fell forward, catching himself only at the last second. His breath came sharp, like someone trying to remember how to exist inside a human body again. Alara reached him before anyone else could. "Rylan," she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. "Focus on my voice." Her tone was gentle, but her eyes were steady, stronger than the metal walls around them. Rylan hated that he needed her so much. He also knew he would be dead without her. "I'm fine," he managed. "You're not." He wanted to argue, but his head was spinning. His nerves still felt like storm currents were running through them, twisting every thought. Only when Alara guided him to sit did the world start settling. "Alara," he whispered. It was worse this time. "I know," she said. "Your neural patterns were spiking off the charts." She pressed a scanner against his temple. Rylan watched her work, noting how calm she looked, how calm she always looked. Her presence created a kind of quiet that made it easier to breathe. "You kept me alive again," he said, half smiling. "You did that," she replied. "I only helped you stay yourself." Rylan didn't say it, but that was the part that frightened him most, that after every mission, he felt a little less like himself. Without Alara's grounding presence, he wasn't sure who he would become. Before he could speak again, an officer rushed into the bay. "Commander Thorne, Dr. Wynn, council meeting, emergency." Rylan groaned. "I swear they wait for me to almost die before calling meetings." Alara gave a small smile. "Let's go." They entered the council chamber together. Large screens flickered with images of strange, twisting lights, cosmic distortions that looked like storms made of gravity. Colonies on the screen were being pulled apart, buildings bending like soft metal as the ground itself rippled. The council leader spoke sharply. 3 colonies hit in 24 hours. We are under attack." "By who?" Rylan asked. "That," said the leader, pointing to the screen, "is the return of the Veilborn." A silence fell across the room. The Veilborn were an ancient alien species that vanished centuries ago. Legends claimed their ships could warp space, collapse stars, and shape storms. Nobody ever expected them to come back. Rylan leaned forward. "What do they want?" "We don't know, but whatever they're doing destroys everything in its path." Alara studied the data. Her eyes widened. "These gravitational distortions, the frequency patterns are almost identical to the ones Stormwalkers produce." The council murmured, confused. Rylan understood immediately. Meaning, we can move through them. Yes, Ilara said. A trained stormwalker pilot can survive inside their gravity storms. Humans may be the only species who can. The council leader nodded grimly. And Commander Thorne is the best we have. Rylan felt the room get heavier. He knew what they were asking before they said it. You want me to lead a mission into Veilborn-occupied space? We need you to, the leader said. You and your Stormwalker may be the only chance to reach their core ships. Ilara's breath caught. He's not stable enough for another mission. His neural strain is increasing every time. He needs rest. We don't have time, the leader replied. Rylan glanced at Ilara. He could see the worry in her eyes, not fear of the mission, but fear of what it would do to him. Ilara, he said quietly, if I don't go, people die. You can't save everyone alone. I know. His voice softened. But I can try. After the meeting, she walked beside him down the hall. You'll kill yourself, she said, her tone low but steady. Maybe, he admitted, but I can't stand by and watch entire colonies fall. She stopped and turned toward him. Then let me come with you. Rylan's eyes widened. Ilara, I can monitor your neural link in real time. You need someone who can stabilize you. If you go alone, you won't come back. He knew she was right. Every mission was harder than the last. Without her, he didn't want to think about it. Will the council allow it? He asked. They don't need to know yet, she said simply. I'll find a way. He laughed softly. You always surprise me. I've had practice, she said. As the two walked back to the hangar, the stars outside the window shifted with the glow of distant storms. Rylan felt a familiar unease, like the universe was winding up for something huge. But he also felt something else. Hope, because Ilara was coming with him. She was the calm after every storm life threw at him, and he suspected she always would be. The Allied fleet launched at dawn. Hundreds of ships rose like bright arrows toward the dark sky, their engines glowing blue against the black stretch of space. But among them, only one carried the man the council believed could survive the return of the Veilborn, Commander Rylan Thorne. Beside him, sitting at the medical interface station, was Dr. Ilara Wynn, calm, focused, and quietly determined. The journey toward Veilborn territory took 2 days. During that time, Rylan barely slept. He kept pacing, checking his Stormwalker suit, adjusting its neural link, tightening straps, loosening others, and repeating the whole procedure again. It was his way of fighting fear without admitting he had any. Ilara watched him without interrupting. She knew why he was restless. Every Stormwalker pilot felt tension before a mission. But Rylan felt storms in his mind stronger than any other pilot. And this mission, this was like walking into the center of a black hole. You're wearing down the metal by touching it too much, Ilara finally said, a small smile on her face. Rylan paused. I just want everything perfect. You're worried. He looked away. Maybe. Rylan, she said gently, you don't have to hide fear. Fear means you care about what happens next. He stared at her, and the storm in his eyes softened. If I'm afraid, it's not for me. She knew what he meant. He feared for the colonies, for humanity, for the lives counting on him. He always had. Before she could answer, the ship shook with a sharp vibration. Commander, the captain called over the comm, we've entered Veilborn space. Rylan and Ilara hurried to the main window. Outside, space looked wrong. Instead of stars, there were twisting rivers of light, spiraling shapes that bent like liquid metal, and dark holes that pulsed as if breathing. Entire sections of space flickered between existence and nothingness. The distortions moved like storms, storms made of gravity itself. Rylan whispered, They're here. Ilara studied the patterns carefully. Their energy fields match your neural feedback readings. If humans can survive this, it's because our brains adapt to chaos in ways the Veilborn cannot. The idea shook her. Humans, a young species, surviving storms that ancient beings couldn't? It didn't seem possible, yet here they were, standing in the middle of Veilborn territory without being torn apart. "Commander Thorne," the captain said again, "your team is ready. Prepare to deploy." Rylan took a deep breath. "Let's do this." Elara followed him to the hangar, where his stormwalker stood like a towering machine of steel and scars. She opened the control panel on her station and linked her headset to his neural feed. "When we enter the storm," she said, "your thoughts will spike. Don't fight them. Let them pass through you. I'll stabilize the patterns." He nodded. "Stay close to me. Always." The stormwalker closed around him with a heavy metallic hiss. Lights activated one by one, glowing inside the cockpit like tiny stars. Rylan exhaled slowly as the neural link formed. It felt like countless threads connecting his mind to the machine. His vision sharpened, his pulse steadied. He stepped forward, and the stormwalker moved with him like a second skin. Ilara's voice came through his helmet. "Link stable. You're holding steady." The hangar floor opened, revealing the swirling, terrifying beauty of the Veilborn storm. "Rylan," she said softly, "go." He launched himself into the storm. The moment he crossed the barrier, the world exploded into motion. Gravity twisted, space spun, and strange flashes pulsed across the darkness like living thunder. The stormwalker's sensors screamed in warning, but Rylan's mind adapted quickly, shifting with the chaos. Elara worked fast from the ship. "Your neural waves are spiking. Slow your breathing." He inhaled deeply. The spikes settled. Together they moved through the storm like two halves of one mind. Then they saw it. The Veilborn flagship. It wasn't built like a ship. It looked like a floating shard of shattered space, glowing with fractured light. Every angle bent wrong, as if the ship existed in more dimensions than a human could understand. Rylan whispered, "How do you fight something like that?" Elara studied the readings. "You don't. Not with weapons. You get close. You learn." The fleet's communication line crackled. "Commander Thorne, fire on the target. Destroy it before it reaches the colonies." Rylan didn't answer. Ilara's eyes widened at her screen. "Wait, Rylan, look at this energy signature. The Veilborn aren't attacking out of aggression. Their core is unstable. They're trying to survive." He frowned. "Survive?" "Yes. Their species is dying. Whatever cosmic change hit them, humans are resistant to it. That's why they're coming here. They're not enemies. They're desperate." Rylan stared at the strange ship in front of him. If Elara was right, destroying the Veilborn meant killing millions who were trying to live. Another voice came through the line, this time colder, stricter. "Commander Thorne, that is a direct order. Destroy the flagship now." Elara whispered urgently, "Rylan, listen to me. If you fire, humanity loses a chance to understand something impossible, and the Veilborn lose their last hope." Rylan felt torn in two, duty on one side, conscience on the other. But Elara's voice grounded him. Her calm cut through the storm inside him. He tightened his grip on the controls. "I won't fire." The line erupted with angry voices. The council threatened him, warned him, shouted at him, but he ignored them all. For the first time in his life, Rylan disobeyed a direct order, and he felt strangely free. He moved closer to the Veilborn ship. As he did, strange symbols bloomed across its surface. It was trying to communicate, trying to reach him. "Rylan," Elara said softly, "I think they're calling for help." He didn't hesitate. "Then we help them." But before they could act, the storm around them shook violently. A new pulse rippled through the space, a force so strong the fleet's ships were thrown off course. Alara gasped. Rylan, the Veilborn are starting something. A star tear event. If it completes, the entire system could collapse. Rylan stared at the growing rupture ahead, a storm big enough to swallow worlds. He whispered, "Then we stop it." The storm roared louder. The part ends with Rylan charging forward, and the galaxy holding its breath. The moment the star tear opened, the entire Veilborn system shook like a universe-sized heartbeat. Space bent inward, pulling everything toward a glowing tear in reality. It looked like a star being pulled apart from the inside, its light stretching into long, trembling streams. Commander Rylan Thorne stared at the growing rupture. It felt like he was looking into the eye of a storm that wanted to eat the galaxy's whole. Ilara's voice came through the neural link, calm but tense. Rylan, if that tear reaches its full size, this system will collapse. Millions will die, including our fleet. Rylan gripped the Stormwalker controls. Then we stop it. You can't do that alone, she warned. I'm not alone. His voice softened. You're here. Ilara looked at her monitors. The readings were worse than anything she had ever seen. The gravitational waves inside the tear were stronger than the ones that had destroyed the colonies. Even the Stormwalker wasn't built for this. Rylan, entering the star tear might kill you. He smiled inside his helmet. Tired but certain. Maybe. But I'd rather die trying to save lives than watch everything burn. Before she could answer, a new pulse burst from the Veilborn flagship. The same symbols from before appeared again, bright and trembling, as if begging. Ilara gasped. They're reaching out. They want help. The star tear isn't an attack. It's their last attempt to stabilize their dying star. So they didn't want to destroy anything, Rylan whispered. They wanted to live, Ilara said softly. Another surge shook the fleet. The captain shouted over the communicator. Commander Thorne, pull back! The tear is expanding! Get out of there! Rylan didn't move. Not leaving! Commander, that's an order! But he cut the line. He wasn't going to repeat part 2, not when the truth was right in front of them. Ilara stood, her hands trembling. Rylan, if you go into that storm, you have to sync with me completely. I'll feel everything you feel, every spike, every hit, every overload. He looked toward her through the camera feed. I trust you. Something changed in her expression, soft sadness mixed with fierce determination. Then let's save them. She slid the neural sync band over her head, linking her mind deeper into Rylan's Stormwalker system. For a moment, she felt a rush of electricity, like stepping into his thoughts. Rylan felt her presence, too, like a calming hand in a violent storm. Ready? He asked. Yes, she whispered. Let's go. Rylan launched the Stormwalker forward. The moment he touched the edge of the star tier, the world exploded into chaos. Gravity twisted in every direction. Light stretched and snapped. The suit groaned, metal plates bending under impossible pressure. Ilara cried out softly, gripping the console as the neural link surged. But she stayed focused. Rylan, don't push back against the storm. Move with it. You can't fight gravity. You flow with it. He followed her voice, letting the currents carry him. The Stormwalker spun, rolled, dipped, rising again like a leaf inside a hurricane. Every nerve in his body burned with the force of the tear. But when Ilara steadied the neural waves, the pain faded into a manageable pressure. He could breathe again. Together, they moved deeper. Inside the tear, Rylan saw the Veilborn energy core, a bright sphere shattering in slow motion, breaking apart because it couldn't stabilize its own gravity fields. If it collapsed fully, the resulting shockwave would destroy everything. Rylan, Ilara said, her voice shaking. If you channel your Stormwalker's energy into that core, you can stabilize it, like repairing a heart rhythm. He swallowed. But that would fry the neural link. It might, she admitted. But if we don't try, everyone dies. Rylan thought for a moment. The whole galaxy seemed to pause with him. Then he said simply, "Let's save them." He directed the Stormwalker toward the core, raising energy shields and preparing the stabilizer beams. The suit started shaking violently, metal screeching, alarms blaring, warning lights flashing red. "Ilara, hold the neural link steady." "I'm trying," she said, sweat running down her forehead. "Your brainwaves are hitting overload. Slow down." "I can't slow down." The core pulsed brighter, the tear expanding again, pulling asteroids and Veil-born ships into its mouth. The fleet outside was struggling to hold formation. The captain shouted over the comm, terrified, "Thorn, get out! You can't survive that!" Rylan didn't answer. He pushed the Stormwalker closer. The energy beam extended from the suit's arms and connected with the unstable core. A shockwave hit him like a mountain of lightning. Rylan screamed. Ilara felt it too, gasping as the pain hit her. But she didn't disconnect. She forced herself to stay, steadying his mind, guiding him through the storm. "Rylan, stay with me! I'm here! Listen to my voice!" Her calm cut through the pain. She was the anchor, the one thing that kept him human. Rylan focused every remaining strength he had. Slowly, the core's violent pulses began to stabilize. The light grew smoother, brighter, less chaotic. "It's working," Ilara whispered. "Rylan, you're doing it." The tear stopped expanding. Then it began to shrink. For the first time in centuries, the Veil-born star began healing. But Rylan's strength was fading fast. His vision blurred. His heartbeat slowed. The Stormwalker's systems flickered. "Rylan, stay awake!" Ilara shouted. "Please, stay awake!" He gave a weak smile. "Told you. I'd walk through any storm." "And I told you," she said, her voice breaking. "You don't have to walk alone." The core stabilized completely. The star tear closed. The energy storm faded into a soft glow. Veil-born ships lit up with new symbols: gratitude, relief, survival. Human ships cheered across the fleet. Rylan slumped back in the cockpit, barely conscious. "Ilara," he whispered. "Yes?" "You kept me alive." She wiped a tear from her cheek. Always. The council would argue later. Politics would roar. Some would praise Rylan, some would condemn him. But none of that mattered now. Because a dying species lived, a system survived, and humanity proved something more powerful than any weapon. Compassion paired with courage changes galaxies. When Rylan finally collapsed into sleep, Ilara stayed by his side, steady and calm, as she always had been. The storm had passed, and she was still there. The calm after every storm life threw at him.